Yeah, we're 2 minutes after. So, all right. I'm Dwayne Stevenson with MACtac. I'm the area representative. I call him regional. I call him American label. Been doing graphics for 2.5 years. My history is working full label, and Jeff here has been you've been with MACtac
27 years. Yeah, I'm the marketing manager, but I started out in the lab as a chemist. So I got to get out on the floor and create products and figure out how they run on the coders and all that kind of good stuff. And then I moved into marketing as tech marketing, so I got to be the guy between the lab and the marketing guys and you folks out in the field, you know, where I learned a lot of stuff. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I took over as a marketing manager and business manager, and I still get to wear the technical marketing hat. So I get to get out and help Dwayne and some of the other salespeople, you know, do this kind of stuff. So,
well, we want to thank you for coming. And with our purpose today is window graphics, just think window graphics. So after what we do today, as you drive around, you look at windows, retail, if you go into malls, you see windows, think of what should be there, what's not. And that's kind of, at least I hope, the purpose of what we're going to do, as well as how to install and some techniques and tricks. If there's anything that comes up that you have ideas with or questions, please stop and ask. We'll go.
You want the lights off?
you guys read that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about why, where, what, and how. We're going to demonstrate wet and dry. We're going to have hands-on. We're going to do an installation on this window. And if there's time, maybe another installation on the show floor. All right, so question of why? Why window graphics? Well, if you think about advertisement, companies that want to promote what they do, it's a low cost of advertisement. If you think about billboards, you have billboards that show what people do or where their businesses are. What better place to advertise than on their window? Eye level car, if you're driving down the street, if you can see it, if it's fully exposed, it's great advertisement. Make it simple and easy. As soon as people drive down, they can see what it is that they do, take a mental note. If I need something, I can go back to it. Enhancing brands and awareness. Same thing, kind of emphasizes that. I drive into San Francisco. I was in there 2 weeks ago. I was on 280, it's an over-ramp. And looking over to my left, I could see rooftops. And on the distance, there was a building. And in this building, it had pictures of pets, cats, dogs. And not knowing what this company did, immediately, I knew what market they were in. I was like, okay, wow, I remember it, and I'm sitting here talking about it today. Another company that's in California, driving down 880. Familiar with California, and well, same thing. Driving down a highway, 55 miles an hour, catch my eye, there's a building that's fully, I don't want to say wrapped, but it was decorated. Can't say it's window graphics, but if there was windows. Everything that they did, and it meant to know. I know what they do. Happens to be a company that what we do today, graphics. So, enhanced brand and awareness. So if your customers, if they're not doing it, they should. Privacy. Another good reason for window graphics. If you're walking downtown, a lawyer's office, or if it's in a building that has separate units, privacy windows. If it's a window, put a privacy barrier. There's different films that you can use for that. Decorate, obviously. If it's a window, plain window like this, decorate it, puts it on it. Make it pretty. Directions, self-explanatory. Go this way. And then office building decor inside and out. Decorations on the outside. We'll see a few pictures where it could be on the outside as well as inside. So, and then what? With this, what? Permanent logos, partitions, block out the sun. So if a company has they're facing east or west, with the sunrise, sunset, and the sun comes down, it could be bearing. So we have a window graphic for that. And then also, at the same time, advertise what you do. Temporary blockout for construction. We'll be here soon. And then promotions, of course. Well, we could email this to you too, guys, if you want for this. All right, so it kind of gives you the what.
So
and why.
We do a lot of window graphics for Little Caesars. One of the things they use it for is they actually put it on the side windows to block their safe.
Ah, there you go.
So
Security.
people, yeah, security and stuff.
Okay, so good privacy
Yeah,
for that.
just an idea.
Yeah. And then is there an advertisement on it?
Yeah, our hot and ready $5 pizza is usually on it. So
Got it.
Works multiple things.
So yeah, I mean, you can intermix, depending on the application, advertisement, lockout, partitions. So and it's creative, And the other part too that I really didn't talk about is get extreme, get it whimsical. For those companies that want to stand out, and then you'll see a picture of broken glass, a big panel of broken glass. I have no idea what they do, but I'm intrigued. So go look at it.
Or I see it make cannons. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like somebody already broke the glass. Maybe that's the key.
Yeah, it's like a crime scene. I was thinking spider webs, but that might be a little too extreme. All right. Okay, so where? Everywhere. You go out today, you'll see windows across the street. You'll see windows right there. They have blockout. They have cut graphics. Gas stations. You go in a gas station, you see window graphics everywhere, depending on what they're promoting. Schools, mascots, wayfinders, warning signs, promotions, games that are coming up. The school within a school, advertising. Arenas, vehicles you'll see throughout, buses, cars, trains. That's also a huge market. Good morning. How's it going? Okay, we'll start over. Okay. I have to wait, but nice meeting you.
Just real quick, just take your phone. Just, everybody just sign this just for your information on who's here today.
So again, office buildings. A lot of office buildings are being built internally, new buildings with glass panels. So instead of walls, they're glass. And there's great opportunity for partitions to break up that area for that space. So a lot of opportunity there. Outside, depending on the building, depending on the owners, depending on what they do, it could be used as advertisements. So I fly into Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, at the LAX airport, there's a building that's got to be 20 stories. And every time I fly in, there's this big, huge advertisement on the building. And it's an advertisement for a new movie that's coming out. But it's huge. I mean, it's like 10 stories high. It's got to be, I don't know, 50 feet wide, maybe more. But again, opportunity. You got to find those that want to be a little eccentric. I've seen a building that was wrapped as a gift. Kind of unique, whimsical, different. Stands out. I don't know what they do, but I'm talking about it today. So, stuff like that you could share with customers, help them get creative with what they may not even know what they want to do. But if you can help them, then we've got the materials for it. Hospitals, partitions, logos, hotels, partitions, logos, and what have you. So, questions?
Just one thing I've come across in the sign industry, like the like window graphics and stuff. You make sure you check with the cities and stuff, because there are some cities that require permits, and you can only have so much square footage. What was that Red Robin that we did last year? I think it was Murray, and you can only have 2 windows covered. But
really, okay.
Red Robin is designed to wrap every single window, and they could have 2 windows.
That's it, huh?
Yeah.
Did they say why, or?
That's just the city ordinance.
It's typically a security thing.
Okay.
People can't see in, police can't see in when they're driving around.
Oh.
So, depends on where you're at, what you're doing, and he's absolutely right. Wherever you're putting graphics out, whether it's on a window or a wall or whatever outside, you gotta know what the permits are, what's allowed. A lot of cities won't allow you to put graphics on the outside of the window. It has to be on the inside. This is an example. Not all of them, but a lot. So, absolutely right. Just make sure you get yourself covered on that before you start slapping some graphics up. But I think what Wayne's point was, it's a great opportunity for upsell for you guys. If you're doing graphics for somebody and they're not even thinking about window graphics, it's a good suggestion. It's like, how about your windows? You've got this great message going on. You could use your windows to enhance that message a little bit further. That kind of thing. So for you to think, help your clients think of different places to do this advertising that really would appeal to them. And Windows is a great opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I'm going to add, sorry, Dwayne, but
Please.
with the hospitals, for example, there's a lot of the new hospitals are building nice and light and airy, and they're putting a lot of glass in there, putting a lot of things in there to try to make you more comfortable. In a hospital as comfortable as you can be. Some of the concerns about graphics in hospitals is you got to be able to scrub them, right? Because you got the super button floats around. They've got to be cleanable, washable. They got to be phthalate free. They got to be this. They got to be that. So you got to be thinking about the right kind of material when you get into those kind of applications. Like polyesters or whatever. So just another thing to keep in mind when you're getting into certain areas.
So the type of materials that are available, there's translucent, there's vinyls, there's clear, which will be a polyester, which we'll have as a demo. Perforated, that's what the holes in it. Be a good example of that. You guys familiar with perforated? 40-60, 70-30, 50-50. Okay. Colors. There's graphics. We have vinyls that in your packet there are we have a product line with different colors, 16 different colors. So you could do a cut vinyl, if that's on that. In addition to the others, the clear or something else. But it gives you options for the different materials. And then what we're going to talk about today will be these items that we offer. First one's going to be our bead-free, our Imagine bead-free window. Frosted, dusted, and clear. And this would be a great example. And what this is, it's air regressed. There's dusted, frosted, clear. You would have to print on it. It's easy to apply. It's dry apply. Easy to pull off as well. So it's good for good temporary use. The vinyl, it can be used for long term. So you can apply it inside or outside. So if there is an ordinance where labels have to be applied inside, you can reverse print it and apply it inside. So it'll still display outside. Or you can display it outside. If it's going to be exposed to the elements, we do recommend an overlaminate to go with it.
Yeah, I would just pass that around a little bit because this is, there's two companies in the world that have air egress patents, MACtac and 3M. In this particular case, this is the MACtac patented air egress system. So you apply this to windows dry. Okay, so you're printing on it and you're applying it. If you hold it up to the light and really look at it, you can see a little bit of the air egress pattern that's in the adhesive. But you can actually, we'll do a little demo here in a minute. You peel the liner off, you put it up like you're putting a regular decal on glass, right? But you're doing it dry. You don't need to do a wet application. You save all that muskless fuss about spraying windows and cleaning up the mess afterwards and then having to come back and reapply your graphics and make sure they're down after you just get a good bond and all that kind of good stuff. So it's a very unique product. MACtac's the only one that has one. Some of the other folks in the market are starting to see it, and I expect other people to copy it fairly soon. But it's a very, very easy application. And that's the whole key to it, right? It's not optically clear, but there's a clear version. and then there's frosted and there's dusted for the finishes. If you do laminate it, if you want to protect your inks because it's outside, it's in the sun or something like that, it'll change a little bit of the finish, so be careful with what laminate you choose. That's the only thing I'd say about that. It kind of eliminates the frosted and dusted finish that's on there. If you put a laminate on, it becomes whatever finish the laminate is, right?
What roll sizes does it come in?
54 inch.
Yeah, it's 54 by 167. It's made in our Belgian facility. 167 is 50 meters.
And then 82.
Mm-hmm.
2 feet too.
Yeah, the short rolls of this. Yeah. But this panel is, they're actually on both sides of this panel.
Yeah,
If you
because I've
notice
noticed
that.
that
It's kind of neat. Yeah, cool. And we are selling a lot of that, just because it's so easy to do. The print's great, whether it's solvent, eco-solvent, even latex. In fact, HP got a hold of some of that, and it's in their swatch book, for their latex swatch book, because they love the way it works. So, just an example of a very easy, very quick install, and customers are loving it. If
How long
you're
have you
not,
guys had this?
I'm sorry?
How long have you guys had this?
About 3 years now. Maybe a little bit more.
I don't think very many people know, because I even called regional with a similar problem of trying to reverse mount without having to put laminate and stuff on. And I don't even think, they didn't even send me this product, so I don't know if they know about it, but this is why I came. This is why I came to this, because I wanted something for that, and I didn't have a
They
solution.
do sell it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's on the floor.
Good.
It's just maybe a communication, ask the right questions or whatever, but now you know about it, so.
I know, so.
Yeah, it's a very unique product, and it's done quite well. Done quite well.
You want to talk about the network?
Sure. Verde is an optically clear polyester for UV inkjet printing. It has to have a special top coat for polyester to accept UV inks, and so it's designed for that. But it is optically clear. It is not an air egress adhesive, because an air egress adhesive is not optically clear. Right? And this would be an application that would be put on wet, which is the dry, right? Whenever you're doing optically clear, you have to do a wet application because you don't want any bubbles, right? And I know a lot of you are good applicators, but I challenge you to put an optically clear polyester on a window without a bubble. Go ahead, show me how. I've tried it for years and I can get close, but I can't do it. I'm not an applicator, so I don't do this day in and day out, but I've worked with enough over the years to know that you just can't do it. So I'll go through a process also for some really good application techniques for optically clear applications on glass. You notice there's some wet fluids up here already and some stuff that we'll go through that and do a couple of applications just to let you guys see how I'm doing it. Pieces and parts and tips that I've picked up over the years from applicators from you guys. So Verde is an optically clear, it's a removable adhesive, but you can still apply it wet.
And then next, in your folders, you have the partition vinyls. No, actually, I'm sorry, it's polyester. And there's 4 patterns. There's rice paper, there's lines, bigger lines, and squares. And these would be great for business use, offices, office space, partitions, restaurants. Oh, very. Hotels.
Yeah. All right. These are actually pre-printed polyesters with these patterns in it. So let's go ahead and apply them. I would recommend applying these wet also, because they are polyester. They're supposed to be very clear where they're not printing. They're used, as Dwayne said, for, it's like privacy screening or decorative applications with privacy screening in mind, right? So you got the restaurants with the glass partitions between the seats. This is a perfect example where that's used.
Can this also be printed on?
It's polyester, and you know what? I don't know the answer to that, quite honestly. I would think if it could, the only way I would print on would be with UV. because it has to have some kind of coating on it already to have the printing on it. So that'd be an interesting experiment.
Okay, so
Nobody's ever asked that before. Well done.
I don't know, it seems like it'd be nice.
Yeah, very cool.
And, you know, Denny's or whatever. That's what it reminded me of, Denny's.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
there you go.
It's used in conference rooms also. Conference rooms, a lot of conference rooms have a glass wall, right? So you put these up for decorative purposes. Also, you can tell something's in there or not. You know, barge in on them. You know, it looks nice, you know, so the big new buildings that are going up. I don't know if you get involved in the decoration of those buildings from the inside. There's a lot of walls, windows, and doors things going on. You know, when they're putting up these new buildings that are part of the decorative scheme of that building. They go out and get local talent to help them decorate. So it's a good idea to get hooked into that kind of stuff.
So to answer the question, can you print on it? If there's not a pattern that you like or your customers like, you can always print on the birdie and make a pattern, or the logo, a step repeat of their logo, as like for Denny's, for instance. Polyester.
Sure. Print your own pattern.
Yeah,
There you
no,
go.
my thing is a lot of the companies don't have white ink.
Ah,
This gives you that.
I see. I gotcha.
But yeah, other than that, you just print whatever you want on the clear.
Yeah.
But
It's kind of a trick with clear though. When you're printing clear, it's kind of neat. You guys all looked at this, right? And the clear is this one here. I know it's not optically clear, but what color are the snow and the clouds? They look white, even though they're not printed and there's no white ink on there, right? It's kind of an optical trick on your eyes, even when you're printing on clear. If you don't have white in this application, the mountains with the snow, well, yeah, behind me is still a black shirt, but the snow still looks white. It's kind of neat, huh? And there's no ink there. It's kind of like these things, they fool your eyes, right? When you're looking through these, the perforated window films, you put them up, right? The backside is black, the adhesive is black. And it's an optical trick with light in your eyes and the way light bends. It forces your eyes to see through the holes instead of seeing the black. It's like you're screening in your house, right? The screens used to be gray and now they're all black. I'm dating myself. I had gray screens when I was a kid. You know, but now they're all black, right? They're black fine nylon or something like that. Whatever. And it's just to trick your eyes to see around it. You see them, but your brain doesn't recognize it. Kind of neat. That's what I get to play with. It's a technical guy, sorry.
And then the last is translucent vinyl, different colors. So what I picked, 3 different colors. We have 16 colors. And this is where you can get creative. This would be a cut vinyl. What would you go with?
You can, it's vinyl. You can print on just about any vinyl. I wouldn't put it through I wouldn't put it through latex or even UV because there's a lot of heat involved with that and it's not the right kind of liner for those kind of printers.
Okay.
But you could throw those on your eco-solvent printer, your MACtac or Roland or something like that. You can print on just about any vinyl, you know, with solid or eco-solvent inks. They don't have profiles. You have to design that yourself, but really they're designed as cut lettering, again, privacy screen, or not cut letters, cutting. I've actually seen people take these and create mosaics, you know, like stained glass. Pretty cool. A lot of special effects. People layer them to get different colors.
Yeah, some unique and different.
Yeah, did you have the 9700 in there? I just realized we missed that one. There's another whole product line called 9700 series MACtac. That's the translucent colors for light boxes and whatnot.
Yeah, you can use this for our boxes too.
Yeah, but it's clear, so you're going to see the light bulb.
I see.
Unless you put a diffuser on it, then you might have to use 9700.
Yeah. And then for the rest, so what we're going to do today, we're going to do demo with the frosted, that's the B3. easy to apply. We perforate it, easy to apply, dry. We do with the window apply. Now we got 2 panels over here. We've got a window panel here that we can use. And then, oh yeah. Then if you like, for this, we've got acrylic sheets, and then we've got the printed samples that you guys can apply and then take with you guys.
Get your hands on it. Right. So,
and then these are just ideas. You want to talk about Designscape? So the pictures?
yeah,
Okay.
you got it in there?
Good. It's not on here, unfortunately.
MACtac has an app called Designscape 3D. And the point of the app is to help you determine what products to use for what applications, right? So we created a whole bunch of different environments in this app. You can go to an environment, and this is all, for vehicle wraps, for example, right? What am I going to use for vehicle wraps? Because, okay, everybody wants to do a vehicle wrap, but what's the right product? MACtac has a product, everybody has a product. And you can go into here, and it's interactive on what you're looking at. When you zoom in on some of these things, that has a little description of the application, and you can go in here and get the recommended product that we would have, and some information also about that product. It takes you to like the performance guys and gives you the details and whatnot. And I'm trying to do this upside down without my glasses on, so I don't even know. You can even request a sample of the material right off the app that goes in through the internet, and you can get your sample sent out to you.
What was the app called?
It's called Designscape 3D. It's being loaded up right now onto the Apple App Store, and then there's also going to be a version. There is a version for the Galaxy, right, or the other tablets that we're creating. There's also a version for
PC.
Your desktop. But the information is all in here. It's a very cool, very easy to use.
Yeah, it's very interactive.
Process is very interactive.
Something you can sit with your customers on if they're working on a project that they need wall graphics, floor graphics, window. It's got illustrations of graphics that have been used.
Yeah, so you can go, there's a bus station, there's a train station, and I'm looking at, I think this is a trade show floor, and anywhere there's an icon, an MACtac icon, it takes you to that specific application, and then you can reference what product you use from that spot. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Request a sample.
What I like about this is really cool. This is great where you can sit with your customers. Is you can go to applications, and since we're talking about window graphics.
Go ahead, pull one up.
Yeah.
It's in there.
I was gonna say, well, you got a list of all the different applications that you can go to. So with this, let's just say, window, okay, glass and window. Click on that. Immediately pulls you up to like a window and then the different products that we would offer. But what's really cool, this is the part that I like, is the gallery. So the gallery is where you can sit with your customer hand in hand. If they're not sure what they want to do, it's kind of go through the pictures. So so we got interior, exterior. Let's go exterior decoration. Let's go to windows. And then here, we've got different window graphics that you can share with them. Say, hey, here's what we could do. You could take, let's take the frosted, we could print it, put the logos, put a hole, as an example. To help them stop and think, hey, this is what we could do. So just put a cut lettering, let's do this. And then take it from a window graphic to floor graphics. But I mean, this is what was already listed here. This shows this. But it's a great tool to sit with your customers. We wanted to at least show them.
Available.
Yeah, if you go to our website, MACtac.com, you can request for it to be downloaded to your computer. I know we're changing things right now, but that would be the first step. Send it to us, we'll give you authorization, give you a passcode, and you can download it, whether it's your tablet or your computer or your PC.
Yeah, our distributors, a lot of our distributors have it already. Working through Apple, it was a little crazy trying to get it on the App Store without having to charge people. Just, you know, it's Apple. You get one piece of something, it's on the App Store. So we've been working on the negotiations on that and getting it loaded up on the App Store so that everybody can get it. My understanding it's going to be available on the App Store, it's supposed to be this month, so there's a lot of things to go to get something out there, but we're going to get it out there. So feel free to download it when it shows up, play with it a little bit, get used to it, and then use it as a sales tool.
Is the PC version available now then on your website, or?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what's available today. And then these are just different ideas, graphics. This is at a convenience store. This is up in Colorado by the airport. Got in the habit of start taking pictures because it's hard to explain if you can't show a picture. Picture lasts forever.
That's a nice thing about your smartphone. I take a picture.
And then, you know, this is a partition, privacy, something to do other than work. Again, partition, logo. And this is the whimsical. This is kind of cool. So stepping outside the box, I mean, look at that. It's like, wow, what happened? And then, you know, you come up to it close, look at it, it's not the real thing. And then you're drawn into the business. But doing something like that is kind of neat. And then discussions at the airport. Not a very good picture, but what they did is did a reverse print, did the mountainscape, Utah. Pretty neat, something unique.
Did you guys do anything?
I was gonna say, yeah, no. Kudos if you did, it's good. Well done. Here's the one building, not the one that I've seen in LA, but I mean, talk about a big advertisement. Now, I don't know, obviously it's going to be New Orleans.
That was actually a banner.
This was? Oh, the other one.
Yeah. But I have seen where they do the windows, you know, with the one-way vision to create their graphic on the window. The biggest one I ever saw was with our one-way vision. It was a promo for Lord of the Rings in Vegas, I believe it was. It was the whole building. It was a big promo for Lord of the Rings. It was all window film on the correct, printed just right, put in the right windows.
You know, it's interesting you say that because with Las Vegas, you know, I have to fly to Las Vegas to get here, and all the buildings have the promos, whether it's Love.
Yeah, they got all over the place.
Yeah, the Circus Way. But anyway, I digress. These are resources at your disposal. We've got MACtac.com. At MACtac.com, you pull up our product guides in the folders. Put samples of product guides of the products that we talked about. Informative. It gives you application tips. Some of them will tell you what print method that the film can be used on. So whether it's latex or if it's UV. So for instance,
It's one of those performance guides you'll see in the corner where the latest version. Make sure you go out to the website. If you got a printed version, you know, 6 months from now it may be modified because that JS is me that writes all these things. So I'm constantly learning new things. We're constantly doing more tests. We're adding more data, flames, whatever, you know, that kind of stuff. And as I do that, I upgrade them. So the live version is on the MACtac website. It's pretty easy to get to on our performance guides out there. So these are a good reference tool. There's also something called the idea book that's on our website. It also breaks things down into applications, just a quick little blurb on what these products are, you know, like a small version of the performance guide, you know, with some of the details, the key details for that particular product, right? So all these are
Resources. Yeah.
at your disposal.
On our website, it's an application nations. We have videos that shows you how to install.
We have a YouTube channel, MACtac's YouTube channel.
So like one of the products that we're going to go over is Verdi. There's a demonstration on that. Jeff is in half of them. In person. In person.
I charge $5
So anyway, it's then we got the Designscape too that we just discussed. Resources.
Okay, what do you want to see first? Let's do a wet application first. We're going to get everybody involved in it. So when you're prepping your glass or your window or whatever, what processes do you guys use to clean it?
Well in it.
I'm sorry? You don't do it? You
Blow off
just
the dust.
blow off the dust and away you go?
Soapy water and
Soapy water?
wipe it off a little bit.
Soapy water is good because it gets all the dirt and grime and stuff off, right? Sometimes, depending on the soap you're using, you may be losing streakiness product or something like that, right? I've learned just recently, I've gotten into the transit business with optically clear applications on windows like buses and trains, you know, and it has to be absolutely perfect because the only reason it works is if the writers don't know it's there, right? And I've learned from those folks, the first thing to do to clean a window is to use a scraper, like a razor knife. Again, I couldn't bring one because, you know, I flew out here and they didn't let me do that. But using those wide scrapers on the windows to get the harsh stuff off and get the stuff that's really stuck on good that even the soapy water won't clean off, right? That's a great first step. I was amazed at what I thought were clean windows, and they showed me the scraper knife thing, and you could feel the real fine stuff coming off. So if you're doing optically clear, any particle that's on that glass becomes a tent underneath your graphic, and it turns into a bubble that never goes away. And you're like, I know I had this good, right? There's something wrong with the media, and yet it's just a small speck. Maybe you can't even see it, but because you're using polyester, it's optically clear. Everything shows up. So my first step has been to use a razor knife. Scrape that glass really good, get all that hard stuff off, and come back with your soap and water. Now the soap and water that I recommend becomes also the application fluid, right? And this is, you know, watch that shear, it's missing the wheel.
Just notice.
Yeah. What I use is baby shampoo. Anybody know why I use baby shampoo? That's a really good reason, because if you use regular shampoo, it gets really foamy and that makes you cry, right? Because then you get air bubbles under your graphic and you have to pull it down and redo it. But baby shampoo doesn't foam near as much as any of the other shampoos. Or Joy, you know, a lot of people like to use Joy, something like that, dishwasher soap. That stuff foams up like crazy. There's something in it called surfactants that surround dust and dirt and whatever, and hold it in solution, so when you pull the plug, all the dirt goes with it. The more surfactants you have in there, the more of the foam you get. Baby shampoo doesn't do that. So I mixed these up this morning, and I did this one. Dwayne did this one. And he put too much in there. And quite honestly, if you put it in, you just want to kind of swirl it around and get it dissolved, right? If you can mix your solution up the day before, get rid of the bubbles, let it out gas, you know you're going to do a job tomorrow. You know, it's just water and baby shampoo. That's all it is.
What ratio?
I'm sorry?
What ratio?
Very little baby shampoo. You know, I put about 3 or 4, maybe 3 or 4 drops. Very little. You don't need a lot. You just need enough to be able to float it and slide it around a little bit. The shampoo is what gives you that slipperiness.
Yeah. 10 to 1 was one that was recommended. 10 to 1.
Yeah, it's very little. Very little. So I didn't mix this one up. This is just water right now. But you're just putting in just a couple drops, right? That's enough. Because the more that we go on, people tend to the advertisement goes a lot farther, right? It's concentrated for better cleaning or need less material or whatever like that. So people keep making these more and more concentrated, which means they're just piling more of those surfactants in here so it can go farther, but everybody still grabs that joint, puts a big shot of soap in there to do your thing. But just a little bit, just swirl around a little bit, just to get it mixed in, and you're good to go. There's no bubbles. If there's some bubbles, that's why I say you do it the day before if you absolutely, it's a critical application. So, I will clean the glass one final time with this, right? So you've used your shampoo or you use whatever solvents you need to get whatever stuck on there. If it's oily, you're going to have to take a solvent of some sort, right? A lot of soaps won't take oils off, so maybe you use a little bit of alcohol. It's an oily wash, but alcohol leaves streaks. So you want to come back and clean it again with this. Now I've got this squeegee. You guys are probably used to these kind of squeegees. Right? These kind of squeegees are great. This is a Teflon squeegee. It's good the first time you use it. But as soon as you get a nick in here, right, you're going to end up with a streak in your optically clear application. Right? That's tough to overcome once it's on there. But I've got actually a window cleaner's squeegee, which has good solid edge. It's a good firm squeegee. By using this, I actually get a perfect edge because it's a window cleaning squeegee. It gives me that clean, super clean finish. And it's pretty firm, so I can push pretty good because the idea is to get the water out from under it. Once you've floated it and got it going up there, right, you got to get all that water out from underneath it for the adhesive to actually start building on the glass, right? Because you can come back another hour later and if it was too wet, still slide it around or whatever. It's not really bonded where the edges are starting to lift or whatever. So, I did clean these windows quite a bit. They were pretty bad. Without a squeeze, without a scraper. So let's go ahead and put one on. We'll do it for everybody. Do it on this one. Oh yeah, keep rags here. Because they make a mess, right? Then you got to clean it all up afterwards. Customers don't like it when you leave a mess. So there's a number of things you want to, yes, let's rag around. To do a wet application, especially when you got polyester involved, you want to keep things wet, right? I mean, really keep wet. Do you want to keep this wet? You want to keep your glass wet? You want to keep the dust down when we're pulling this off? I mean, if it's super critical to be absolutely perfectly optically clear, when you remove that release liner, you want to be spraying that right away as you're removing it to keep the static from the polyester liner from drawing dust from around and getting it all over your adhesive, right? Bigger pieces, you're going to be usually working with a couple folks if you're doing a giant window, right? Any tape?
What kind of tape are you looking for?
Tape, just Scotch tape or something like that. Because this is a polyester liner. Is it easy to get polyester liner separated from the polyester face? It's a pain in the eye. So a nice little, I even have tape in there. A nice little trick is just to take a piece of tape, put it on the liner in the corner, one on the back, one on the front. I'll probably do this with my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. And then it allows you to get it on here, right? And this, it allows you to separate it really. It's just a little cute little trick that I picked up, but boy, does that save me a lot of time. You try to separate that, right? What a pain. So when you're
sometimes when you're releasing this, and if it depends on how critical it all is, right, as you're releasing this, it's not a bad idea to start spraying that right now, because you're going to spray the adhesive anyway, right? Let's put some water on there, keep the dust down, keep the static from happening, because static conducts, water conducts electricity, it conducts it away from what you're working with. So if you have a static problem, moisture will get rid of that. Like in your shop in the winter time, right? You always get static because there's no moisture in the air. If you put some humidity in the air, you'll decrease your static by at least 50%. Right? Because winter time, it's 10% humidity. And 10% humidity, there's nothing to draw the static away from everything. It just keeps building up until it gets large enough to discharge. And then if you're working on a laminator and it's not grounded well and you get a discharge, it's not fun. He's smiling because he's done this. Right?
I was thinking about it yesterday. I got shot like 30 times yesterday.
Okay, so you got to buy something called static string. Go to a website called, I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's called www.stopstatic.com. Really simple, easy to remember, right? You have a product called static string. And that static string goes across your laminator on the unwind, just about close to your unwind where it's coming off, right? And you're separating the liner from the adhesive just before it goes around the curve. It goes across there, it doesn't touch, but it draws a static as you're creating static as you're unwinding rolls. It just happens. It's just because you got things sliding against each other. That'll take that static away from you and from the laminator and keep your laminator and your dust problems really reduced, almost eliminated, right? And the other trick is to make sure that you run some static string from your laminator to a ground someplace. Your laminator is grounded for electricity, right? Because you got electrical parts in there, and it runs a ground, but that's separate from the body of the laminator. The body of the laminator is metal. It's painted metal, right? But the electric is all separated from that, right? So if you generate static, it goes into the body of your laminator and it has nowhere to go to, and it acts like a giant capacitor and just keeps building and building until it's too high and it discharges. So scrape some paint off around a screw, loosen the screw, scrape the paint so you get to the metal, tie your static string on there, tighten the screw, and just run it to, if you got a water line nearby, right? The copper water line, because all water lines by law have to be grounded. All water systems have to be grounded, so you got a water line running nearby, tied to the water line. It goes to the ground. And so you're taking the static out of that roll, or the static that you were creating in that roll, and getting rid of it, rather than letting it build up and you find dust in your graphics, which your customers really don't like, right? They don't like it. They don't. So, back to this. Just a little hint again. You want water, you want liquid on this thing, right? You're doing a wet application, so don't be afraid to use it. The other thing is you're going to put, it all over your glass, right? Don't be afraid to use it, because what you're trying to do is float this thing, right? You're trying to float this thing so the water becomes your surface, and as you apply it, you just kind of lay it down, right? So the water now is the interface. And if I laid it down like this and I didn't have any foam in my application fluid, I've got a perfect application. Now I can slide this around until it's ready to put down. The next trick, not a trick, next thing you should do is wet the outside. Right? Wet your surface so when you use the squeegee, it doesn't grab, it slips, it slides. And so you're going to squeegee with some pressure and get that liquid out from underneath. Right? So you're going to squeegee that liquid out. You're going to really push it down hard to make sure you're getting that liquid out from underneath. And because I sprayed it, my squeegee didn't grab it. Right? If I hadn't sprayed that, it'd have been grippy, right? And it would have been moving my graphic around all over the place. It's that easy. I'm going to take that off after it's built its bond. If I try to pull that off now, I'll probably pull that up. But to do optically clear, now if you look at that close, you'll see there's no bubbles in there, there's no nothing. I've got maybe a real fine layer of liquid still under there, but that'll dry out. Okay, and within about an hour or so, it'll start rebuilding this bond. I could probably peel that up. I took a lot of the water out because I put a lot of pressure on with this. So I've got some bonds started already, but we're going to let it set. We're going to let it finish building this bond because the water will evaporate. The adhesive will continue to wet out to the glass and start getting stronger and stronger. And then I'm going to come back one more time and I'm going to make sure, you know, my edges are down, because the edges are the parts I want to lift if there's any curl that you've induced somehow through the process, right?
And how long does it take to bond?
I like to give about half hour to an hour. It depends, right? It really depends on how well you got the water out from under it. On a hot day, it's going to dry out a lot faster. It's going to build its bond a lot faster. On a cold day, it's going to take longer.
And this product is a removable adhesive. So once it's stuck, once it dries, you can still peel it off. There are some clear films that have permanency, so it kind of makes it a little bit more versatile.
Question for you. So I use the MACtac stuff just because it dries usually within like a minute or two, so you don't have to wait for it. Does that, with the optically clear, do you notice, does that, because it's tinted color,
Yeah.
depending on what one you use? Do you know?
Yeah, MACtac is a great product. If you've got a lot of printing in your graphics and stuff and you're not after optically clear, I think MACtac's a great product. It is. I've been using it for years myself. If you need to have perfect optically clear, MACtac is not the product to use because it leaves it looking streaky. I'm not knocking MACtac.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great product. It's a good question. Any thoughts? What do you think? Just a couple simple steps along the way, make sure that you're putting a graphic up really good. It's not hard to do, right? It's just make sure you follow those steps. And a lot of the biggest key to optically clear is to make sure you got a really clean surface. And it's that scraper, and I washed this like 3 or 4 times. It was pretty dirty.
Those were really dirty, yes.
Yeah, we could open this one to show you how dirty it was, but I'm not going to do that. But you can see now that that's absolutely perfect.
Does your website show what is wet or dry application? What?
It does say it on the performance guides, yes.
And like, for example, on this one, is it either or it has to be only wet applied?
Optically clear has to be wet.
Okay. And that'll show on your website. On the
I mean, you can go ahead and try to put one of these up if you want, without doing it wet. We can do it. I mean, we got pieces.
I'm curious.
Curious.
I just want to see.
You're on, man. It's all you. No, go ahead.
I'll have to use a ringer speaking.
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that.
That's what we're doing.
And see, here's my thing too, is I usually like have transfer tape on it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do too.
Maybe I usually always work with that.
Use
That's
the
not
soft
gonna be a
side.
problem, right?
No, use the soft side. We also have felt squeegees that I like to use, right?
Here's
I'm
the-
sure you do
Clean the
this.
window first.
Actually,
Biggest
it's
thing
dirty on
what
the
he was talking
outside.
about getting this separated.
Use the tape. I use a felt squeegee a lot of times on a lot of things. Even for me, for actually has felt squeegees. I don't know if you guys use them or not. This one here has got a lot of built flexibility into it, so you can go around curves and whatnot when you're in a car wrap. Dwayne was supposed to bring a whole packet of these, but I think they got lost in there.
They were a threat. Really? They confiscated.
Not really.
They got lost in there.
And you know you can sharpen these, right? That little ridge there, when your squeegee gets nicked a little bit, you just pocket it into that ridge and build up a little friction and then sharpen the ridge. It's a big giant nick, you can't take it out, but it's just little fine nicks, you know?
Yeah.
Because when you're using them, they're going to get them, right? So just
that only work with the Teflon squeegees?
No, it was with all of them.
All of them?
Yeah.
Even the
Teflon's
gold
actually the
3M ones?
harder one to do.
Even the gold 3M ones? I mean.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Those are the nylon. And the nylon, you can actually do this, it really, it goes pretty fast. So you gotta be kind of careful because it'll actually start peeling it. But, yeah, you get just tiny little mixture out on the job and, you know, have another squeegee. Clean it up a little bit. Just
Makes the job easier.
does.
You can see the bubbles already. Actually, it's just the dirty window.
Nothing. I watched that.
Except for the outside.
Nice try, though.
See, when the customer says they washed it, wash it again.
Yeah. That's the problem. That's the problem. It's almost
this side.
to do
My
that.
question is, I don't think I've ever worked with material like this. I don't know for sure. But my question is, like, when you have the wet application, like, how do you make sure to keep it level? Or, like the design, like if you're doing something small like this, because I normally tape it down to help secure it. But with everything wet, tape's not going to stick to the window.
No, but you could put a wax mark on it or something like that.
Just-
Yeah. Do it. And the other thing, when you're doing windows, now these don't have them because it's an inside window, but you're doing a window, you usually have a rubber seal on it. You gotta stay off that rubber seal. Right? If you try to wrap over top of that rubber seal, it'll look great when you put it on. But 2 or 3 things bad happens with rubber seals. One is they expand and contract with the glass. And when they start expanding and contracting with your heat, right? You get hot during the day, cool at night, your glass does expand and contract. That's why there's rubber seals in there rather than being permanently hard in it, right? Because it has to have that ability to expand and contract. So it does this and the rubber seal moves, and the graphics on top of it, it starts moving it. And a couple weeks later, you're gonna find that you've got some edges that look like crap. They're gonna start lifting, they're gonna start doing some bad things because it's moving with your graphic, right? The second thing that happens is they're rubber seals, and they have lots of oils and carbon black and whatnot in them that constantly are coming out. So that gets into your adhesive. So leave yourself a gap, leave yourself room for that to move. There's actually tools that you can buy that'll allow you to run right along the seam of that rubber and cut your graphic. You know, put it in bigger than that and then cut it, fit it, right? And alignment's a challenge when you're doing wet. But the good thing is it's slippery.
Something like that, could you like, let's say like put a strip of masking tape down part way and then just spray it on that side, squeegee that half down?
What I would actually suggest, if you want to use masking tape, is you go to the inside, you measure it up, put your masking tape up on the inside where it needs to be. Since you're doing optically clear, just line it up with your masking tape that's on the inside. That way it doesn't get in the way, doesn't cause problems somewhere down the road. And if you really need to be that precise, then that's what you need to do. That makes sense? I think Rebecca, got it?
I'm just like wondering if it's acceptable to do a small swatch like that, or if you actually do the full window.
You do the full window.
You do the full window? So you couldn't do something like, something that tall and just do the full width and leave it like that? Wouldn't look good? Because like with the barriers for like, you know, offices and stuff with these types of materials, isn't that what they do?
They do.
They don't wrap the full
They
thing.
do, and it all depends really on what your client wants, right?
Right.
You're gonna put up a graphic that he wants up. You're gonna have it designed for him already. If you wanna make suggestions ahead of time on the design to make it easier for your install, you can do that through the process. You know, with working with your client, if they want a full window, they want a full window. That's what you gotta do. Okay.
But were you saying that the image being that small to go clear all the way so you don't see an edge?
Right. You know, you obviously wouldn't do something that small. Maybe OptiClear isn't the right material to you. I don't know. Like if you're doing a small graphic like that, it doesn't necessarily look the best for OptiClear to have,
And
to
then-
be able to see all the edges. You know, so I was just picturing, I was like, well, it wouldn't be so bad if you saw the top and the bottom edge. And it went all the way, the width of the window, if you were doing something small like that. Yeah.
Cost might change your mind.
It might. It might. I mean, even on the transit stuff, I have to leave an edge, right? And so this edge here, if it's printed, obviously it looks there, right? If it's not printed, can you see that edge?
Depends on the lighting.
It depends on the lighting and whether you're looking for it or not, right? And if you're the average Joe walking by looking at a message, you're not looking at the edges, you're looking at the message. So there's some balance of what is real.
We're not paid to be average Joes, though.
Huh?
I said, we're not paid to be average Joes.
No, no, no. The average Joe is the person reading the message, not
Right.
the person doing it. Yeah, make that clear. I understand, you know, you want to be a perfectionist in your job. I get that. But there's perfection and then there's reality. Right? And you can spend an awful lot of time doing optically clear and being absolutely precise.
So maybe like the solution would be to put a colored edge on all of it. And it wouldn't matter,
Perhaps.
and you wouldn't have to go to edges.
Or the solution may be not to go to the edge with your print. And the design is the design itself. And then the edge is clear.
Yeah.
Kind of like a clear border,
Hmm?
clear edge border.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, we could have printed this, right? And just printed this whole thing inside here. And this, instead of being square cut, would be part of the design of the graphic. And put it up. You have a square piece still, but the design is inside.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you, is like print and cut.
Yeah.
Well, it's polyester, so if your print and cut can handle polyester, you're good to go. Right? I am not a fan of print and cut, by the
Why not?
way. It's great for labeling, where your labels aren't print to the edge. But if you're printing eco-solvent inks and you're putting it on vinyl, you're putting a lot of solvent into that vinyl, right? The vinyl acts like a sponge, it swells. You fill it up with all this solvent, and you know, when you're putting ink down, eco-solvent, solvent inks, they're about 10 to 13% pigment, and the rest is salt. Because you gotta have something to carry it through the whole process, get it down through the nozzles without clogging it and all that kind of good stuff. So you got very little pigment, you got a lot of solvent. You're really slathering the ink on to get a good image, right? So you're pouring solid into your vinyl, and your vinyl's going to swell. It's like a sponge, your household sponge. You fill it up with water and it swells up. You let it dry out and all curls up, right? Same thing happens with vinyl. You're pouring all the solvent into there, so it's swelling, and then you cut to the edge of a printed image before you've dried it out, because that's what print and cut does. It cuts it almost immediately. Unless you take it out and dry it and then put it back in another day, right? So you've cut it now to that edge, and then the vinyl goes back to its original size. And you see the edges curling up, or you had put it into your graphic already, and it's still drying out, and it's, in your opinion, it's shrinking. Oh, your vinyl's shrinking. This is bad. The edges are curling because it's getting rid of that solvent and it wants to go back to its original size. And of course, the edges get rid of the solvent first, so that's the part that goes like this. And pretty soon your image is doing this, right, on your wall because it doesn't dry. Or it usually curls up really tight. It's an indication that you didn't dry your inks and allow the vinyl to go back to its original size before you cut it. So you print, you come off the printer and it feels dry to the touch, right? Because there's a low heat there and the surface is dry, but the solvent's still in that vinyl. And it still has to finish drying. And that's why everybody tells you, you know, you need about 24 hours open to the air for the solvent to come off.
Don't the solvents attack the adhesivity too?
They will. And if you put a laminate on it, the solvent's still going to try to come off, and it can't come out through the laminate, or it'll mess up the adhesive in the laminate. Or it'll soak down through the vinyl and mess up the adhesive behind it. And they're pretty well engineered adhesives. I mean, there's a lot of technology that goes into making adhesive. When I started working at MACtac, I thought, man, I'm not going to do this for a living because it's just a glue factory. And then I learned. There's a lot to go into developing these adhesives, right? You have to have like a vehicle wrap stuff. Right? You gotta be able to pop it up, put it down, and work it. You grab the car. If you can't pop it up, put it down, and work it, you're gonna throw that stuff away and go buy somebody else's, right? So developing an adhesive to work within that very tight range of sticking and not sticking, you know, so you can work with it, and yet once you get it down, and you get it down, especially into the deep grooves, and make sure it stays there. That's a lot of chemical engineering that's going on to do that. Now, let's take all that chemical engineering and just throw it out the window because we threw all that solvent in. So if you try to apply a graphic that you know didn't really get dried, it's what? It's really aggressive, right? You go close to the car and it goes, it's stuck to that car like grim death right now. And it's because there's solvents in the adhesive. And you've laminated it because you're going to put it on the car. You trapped all that solvent in there, and there's only one way for it to go. So that's why I'm not a fan of print and cut. I like print and cut if you're printing labels. If I'm printing something like, if I'm printing a label and it's like this, right? It's got an unprinted edge to it. So I'm printing a whole bunch of labels and I want to go back and cut those out. That's fantastic because I've got an unprinted edge that I'm cutting, not a printed edge that I'm cutting. If I'm cutting into the ink, we're going to have a problem. There's going to be a problem.
So typically on your vinyl, would you, before you cut it or run it through your plotter, you let it dry for 24 hours?
After it's been printed with eco solvent and solvent, absolutely. Latex, no, it's good to go. It's not saturating the vinyl with solvents. UV inkjet, it's good to go. You got to be a little bit careful with UV inkjet because it does do some post-curing. Sometimes you get a little post-cure. All the photo initiators that are in there that make this thing, the inks cure. There's usually an abundance of them put in there to make sure that the inks are cured. So after the fact, you put it out in the sun, you get a little bit of post-cure, and sometimes you see shrinkage because UV inks shrink when they cure. But solvent, eco-solvent, needs to be dry. And I've heard all the reasons not to dry it because the customer has to have it today. Right? I don't have room in my shop to lay it out open to the air. Just a dozen different reasons not to dry the inks, but then you're going to have failures if you don't do it right. So you guys are the professionals. You guys are the ones that know how this stuff works. And it's your job to tell your customer, look, if you want the job done right, this is the way it gets done. If you want it done wrong, go down to the other guy's shop that's going to do it wrong, and then you're going to have a claim with him and whatnot. Because it has to be done right. You guys are the knowledgeable people. I say, look, I'm going to print it. It needs to dry for 24 hours, then I'll laminate it and cut it, and it'll be good to go.
Not only that, but it takes you longer. It takes so much longer to apply a graphic that's not dry.
It's hard.
It's harder to work with.
It is.
And then sometimes you ruin it and you have to start over, and then they don't get it today anyway.
And even if you get it applied, after it's so hard to work with, you're still got solvents in there that are messing everything up, right?
Shrinkage.
Yeah, shrinkage, edges of things. You know, sometimes when you load the solvents into the adhesives, they're not so internally strong. And you see them stringing out, you know, start lifting up and it leaves the adhesive behind. Or you see, you know, it's on a wall and it starts separating this way and you see a streak of gray adhesive left behind because it shrunk up a little bit. Well, it didn't shrink up, it went back to its original size. And because all that solvent was in the adhesive, it's gummy and gooey and it leaves it behind. Now you got a mess. Now you're going to get a little bit of shrinkage no matter what you do because you're handling the vinyl and you're stretching it when you're doing the application and stuff. But that's okay, you plan for that when you do an overlap. But if you mess up the adhesive and you do an overlap and it leaves that gray behind, you got a ruined job. Your customers don't like a streak of gray between panels. Right? Sorry, we got a little sidetracked there, but you asked. Print and cut's great. It is when it's used as it's designed. And if you put your registration marks on there and take that off and dry the inks and come back the next day, the registration marks get picked up and you can put it back in and feed it back through and do your print down. Right? Now, as far as space is concerned, we actually designed something for our print lab with a bunch of fans that are laying and blowing up. Okay, and I just put some posts in it and I can take my roll of material that's printed, put it on top of the post, just kind of run my finger backwards through it to open it up and let the air blow through. It blows the solids out, dries it out. Usually 4 or 5 hours, it's dry. I still let it go 24 because that's what I do. And usually 4 or 5 hours, I'm already home eating dinner or something, you know, by the time I get it on there. So the longer I leave it set. Because, man, I'm getting on a soapbox here, sorry about that. But if your roll of printed media is rolled up, it doesn't dry, right? There's nowhere for the solvents to go except nowhere. So that actually retards the drying. If you don't have air passing across it and taking the solvent out, taking it away, it just sits there. And it actually gets to a point of saturation in that little tiny airspace where it can't allow any more to come off. So, you know, fix yourself up a neat little fan, you know. We just created a box with a bunch of holes in the top, like this. This has got a bunch of holes in it. Put a post on it, a couple of them. And we put a fan in that lays down sideways, so it's blowing air up, right? And it blows it up, and I unwind backwards with my finger just to leave some space for that air to go through, and it blows the solvent out. And then when I go to laminate the next day, I know I'm dry. Fairly simple little, I should have patented that, but I'd rather just tell you what you do, right? So, okay, moving on.
What's the frosted?
Huh?
Frosted?
Frosted.
Great transition
Yeah.
from wet to dry.
So we did wet. This is the air egress dry, right? This is a dry application. It's really easy to use. It's like any other application. You're going to peel back a little bit, put a little bit of fold on it. This is so you can line things up, right? I'm going to go to the window with my squeegee. This is where you line it up, right? You go ahead and use your tape or whatever you want to do.
So Jeff, on the squeegee, does it matter if it's a window squeegee like you
No.
used before? Just a regular?
It's a regular squeegee. All right, so you're going to get your edge tack down. You've lined it up. It's actually straighter than the other one.
This one we don't have to use one, right?
Nope. So I'm showing you the difference here, right? This was kind of a mess. It wasn't hard, but I made a mess. I had to clean it up.
There's more steps.
Yeah, a lot of more steps. This one I printed. It's got the air egress adhesive on it, the MACtac patent. I'm going to get it down. I'm just going to go ahead and apply it. It's air egress, right? I'm going to be careful because it's a fairly fine air egress that I have on here. You know, go ahead and use it to its best advantage.
Now, one thing on this film, you have to print on it. It's got to be printed. You can't apply it without a print because when you squeegee it on, it'll leave squeegee marks.
There's air egress adhesive on there. So if there's no inks on there or anything, you may see your squeegee marks. Like I can come up here and I can press it really hard and create a little dark line because I press that area down harder. But if it's a printed graphic, it's fine. Now that was pretty simple. That's technology. That's fun.
And that is a removable adhesive.
Actually, that's permanent.
Is it a permanent?
It's permanent. It's going to build a good bond on that glass, but it will come off because it's glass, you know, and I don't have to worry about my substrate separating. All right. If I'm doing a big piece and I've got this up here, I've got a pretty good bond on here. It does build to a good bond, which is what I really want for a longer-term graphic. To take it off, it's like 2 or 3 pounds per linear inch with, you know, this material. It's the bond strength. That's what you look at. If you look at our performance guides and the way to read those, if you have a peel adhesion here, right, it'll tell you some numbers. Okay, this is 5728. It's 3.1 to 3.7 is a typical bond strength. And that's from running a peel 180, I don't know if you guys know what 180 degree peel is. But we actually take a strip that's 1 inch wide, put it on an aluminum or stainless steel panel, and it's been applied for whatever length of time that says. I think it says 30 minutes, right? On that, it says for 30, so it's been stuck there for 30 minutes. We have a machine that grabs this tip and it peels it backwards this way. And that's 180 degree peel. It's putting it back on itself. And it's measuring the bond strength of that tape, of that piece at a 1 inch strip. It's not a square inch, it's just a 1 inch width of that tape, right? That's what we're measuring. That's a peel. A quick tack is something like this where you form like a teardrop and it goes in and sticks it down for 1 square inch and then pops it back up. And it's measuring that bond strength. So the higher the quick tack, the faster it's going to bond, right? Or the harder it's going to be to work with. That's kind of part of that balance that we do to make it so it's repositionable or not. So when you're reading that, that's what you're looking at. So if you figure that's 3.1 pounds per inch width on one section here, I've got a full width here of 12 times 3.1, I got a pretty good bond, right? So if I try to pull that off all at once, and you guys have seen this, right? You pull it from the corner, the wider it gets, the harder it is to peel, because that's what we're doing is exponentially increasing that bond strength. So a good little trick is to take your knife and cut this in strips and then peel it off. So you're not getting into this giant piece. It comes off nice and easy.
Any thoughts, questions?
Another little strip. Okay. So I guess the last one is window films. If anyone wants to, you guys have done all this. This is a really easy application because number one, it's full of holes. Trapping the air with this is not a concern. And if it's laminated, it becomes a little bit more of a concern because you can create a bubble, right? Because the holes are no longer wide open. Just can't see what I'm doing. I'm getting open. So, for me, I just take it and put it out. It's not like I have to be real careful with it. It's got a bunch of holes in it, so who cares? Line it up, lay it down reasonably smooth, squeegee it on, and you always work from the inside out and you're done. You don't have to screw around with that. It's got a bunch of bubbles so the air comes out. If it's laminated, it's a little, you gotta be a little bit more careful. But, okay.
So what this is a 70-30. So it's got 70% landscape or vinyl and 30% holes. So you got a good visual of the graphic from here. But yet on the back side, you can still see through it. I don't know if you can really see through it. A good illustration is this. Now it's a little bit different than what others on the market. There's 65-35, there's 60-40, there's 50-50. We have 60-40, 50-50, 30-70 on this. So you can see the visual image and then the back side. So, and what makes this, you can print this latex as well, the 30, 70-30. So it makes it a little unique, a little bit different with the graphic that you print.
Yeah, you want to pay attention to that. Down at the bottom of every performance guide for print media. That's the last thing. Yeah, that's it. That's it. This one's short. Somewhere in that performance guide, that's print media, I got this little chart in here. And I just got it X'd on what kind of inks it will accept. Okay. You got to be careful with window perf. Depends on how that perf is made. The original perfs were made, for solid inkjet printing or eco solvent or whatnot, no big deal. Then they tried to print on it with latex or with UV, and it ended up filling the holes. And because it forms a film, you can pull the liner off and the holes aren't there anymore. In a lot of cases, because the film of the ink has formed a solid layer. And so the window perf had to be redesigned to be able to make sure the ink goes all the way down and it doesn't form a solid layer. So some of these prints, like the you'll see on your performance guide which ones can be UV inkjet printed, for example, which ones cannot. Which ones can be latex and which ones cannot, right? And the size of the hole, usually something that's 70-30, that's for buildings. You know, so people can see out easily, and it's just so people can see out easier, right? Not for your car. Because your car, you want to have as much ink lay down and as much graphic impact as possible when you're putting graphics up on a window on a car, right? So if you don't have much surface area, you're not going to get that impact. It's going to kind of look ugly compared to the rest of the graphic. You need to have that 50-50 to get better impact from your ink. Because remember, 50% of it's gone, or 70% of it's gone, right? So you have that less image, right? All right, so we did wet, we did dry, we did window perf, and so it's your turn. I have spray bottles. I would start spraying here. We'll start spraying on the windows from the glass.
Is there like a point where there's too much water?
Nope, good question.
And even you're spraying this too?
I am, because I want to keep the static down. And start peeling,
okay.
right?
So before, I was just spraying vinyl.
That's what I have to do every day anyways.
Spray that glass.
You cleaned it good?
That's better. If you can get one that sprays like a mist like this rather than the one that just, yeah, it's a big stream, because the stream will actually create bubbles in your fluid too, right? I'm going to saturate the crap out.
Something like this, you probably want to slide it in first.
I would do, yeah.
Get it.
I guess, what will be the best way to pull the backing off? So you just pull it down? Should be fine with the window being wet.
So when you start pulling that, right, so it's going to start moving your graphic. So you got to be, again, having your
Like this
has,
this has,
you know, what's going to come down from it, stay off of it, right? You need to stay off of that.
Would it be,
Pull it away from the glass a little bit, not the top, but the bottom.
would it be safe to squeeze you up there a little bit to help hold it?
Yeah, you could do that. Get those bubbles out. Yeah, go ahead. Use that small squeeze, I guess. Yeah, we're gonna have to cut when we get here anyhow.
Is that a,
I think I'd just go over it and then come back and cut it after it's all down. That looks good.
oh. You were waiting for that, weren't you?
Makes a difference, right?
How did you notice it?
Look at that, see what the difference is? Last time I moved the whole thing.
flip it over, use the felt sand. That way you're not scratching your graphic.
Yeah, and I think those squeegees, that felt is capable of getting wet, right?
Yeah.
So, now when you squeegee this, I don't know whether you do that, but you want to always go from the middle out, right?
Yeah.
I got how you did that edge a little bit, but you need to go.
I started in the middle and worked my
Right.
way that way though.
But you need to be pushing that liquid out, right? And I get that. But you need to go from the middle out, keep pushing that out as much as you can, get it out of there. That's kind of a rule of thumb for all graphics, right? When you put it in a graphic, always go from the middle out, do a lot of overlapping. Make sure you're not missing space.
Coming up.
Killed it, Justin, you had one job. Okay, go ahead. Go down and get some more. Not that much.
Okay, middle out from top down, right?
Slid on this and adjust it. gonna do it, we're gonna do it professional.
As you should.
Squeeze, go water.
Nice. Excellent. Not that way.
No?
Your squeegee needs to always go down. Even when you go this direction, you're going down, right?
Oh.
The reason you're going down is if you go like this, you end up pushing it
Push it
up.
up.
And you need to push it down and out.
I guess I didn't realize I wasn't washing my hands.
Good overlap, that's exactly right. Always overlap when you're doing that. So you're working with a third of your squeegee on new stuff, right? And the rest is still going over the old stuff. So you're making sure you're not missing any areas. And the reason I say that is air regress has kind of made it really easy to put stuff up, and people miss that a lot. A lot of times, it's pressure sensitive adhesive, means it's got to have pressure to make it stick. And it's too easy to almost. Just let it lay itself down, and that's it, perfect.
You want to try?
Did you spray the surface on that?
No.
Want to use this thing?
Yeah, let me try that
Let's
one.
try that.
I'm curious. See, would it be good to start back up?
It's all your call. If you did the top already, it's probably pretty good, but go ahead.
Do you push it like that, or do you pull on?
Yeah, I've always pulled it. A bit easier, huh?
Yeah.
Covers a little
Gets
bigger
a lot
area,
more-
and you can put a lot more pressure
Well,
on
you
it.
can see how much is coming out versus
Yeah.
what they were doing.
Try that one.
Makes a big difference,
How
right?
much did you pay for that?
$5, $10, something like that. It comes with some replacement blades, too, so when it gets beat up, they just put a new one in.
You have tried it on the other materials, the other various materials, and it just doesn't work out.
I only use it in wet application. Because I don't want to mess with any other stuff. Yeah.
Anybody else want to try it?
Yeah,
Feel free.
we don't have to do this whole thing.
Curious to try it.
Yeah.
And when you start feeling drag, go ahead and use more fluid, you know? You'll start feeling it after doing a few times, put more fluid on because you want to control the drag, right?
Now, would it be possible to apply the whole thing, like get it all wet, pull off the backing before you actually really start working the material?
That's it. Say that again?
So like, cause they keep pulling up what they just applied,
Yeah.
so it's almost doubling the work. So would it be beneficial to like pull off the entire backing, get it all wet, and then go?
If you
over
can
it?
manage that big a piece, yes.
Well, no, I mean like start at the top like they did, but then if you can work it without moving the top, pull all the rest of it off. and
You
then-
gotta be careful where you're doing it, right? Inside it's easy, outside it's hard.
Right.
You got a lot of dust flying around, you got wind, you got a big piece that acts like a sail, and the wind catches it, you're sunk. So if you can manage, then that takes me back to what I said already, if you can manage that piece, then it's way better to pull the whole darn thing than if you do it all at once, right? So we're only gonna get so far down onto this. Let's go ahead and start doing it below that. Tack it down like we started up here. We'll come back and we'll push this back down and then trim it off, okay? That's not last. Just let it droop, and then go ahead and get yourself a starting spot. And don't worry if it's not down tight right here. We're gonna trim that and then put it back up. Use some pressure. See this here? This is for no pressure. But that's okay, we'll get that, right?
Where you
Ah,
guys straight
see. That's why I like that
I
big
think
squeeze.
too, I think it, like, you gotta get used to like learning how to use that kind of thing. Like,
Yeah,
get the feel for it.
Absolutely.
I felt like I didn't know what I was doing.
If I were you, I'd pull that whole thing off and lay it down and just go. Gotta kind of taking our time doing it a little bit, but you're right, we're doing too much work. Okay. Lay it down slowly, let the top go down, right? Let it do its own, let it work on its own. Yeah, there you go, there you go. Nice. And then finish it up. Okay, stop, wait, before you do that.
Yeah.
If we start here, I'm gonna start trapping stuff, right? So let's make sure that we get it all out of here, right? We're overlapping these strokes just as well. So you're gonna go this way, and you're gonna overlap. You're gonna start where you've already squeeged and then start again. Better. Okay. Take smaller bites. Smaller bites. Good job.
So what we see here, this is, these aren't bubbles. These are just dirt from the outside.
Well, it's part of the print, too.
Was it? Okay, well, the importance of cleaning the window, I guess you can see. Both on
I don't
inside
have a
and
knife.
outside.
You got a knife?
I could get a razor blade.
Or knife? I use the knives with the break-off blades.
I had the guy I replaced for Sliprin's, he has a cool tool that he showed me. It's actually a pin, but it swaps out with an X-Acto blade.
Ah.
And so he keeps it on at all times since it's been so useful. So.
Yeah, it's just, I'm breaking blades. Because you gotta have a sharp tip, right, to do any good. So, who's got a steady hand? I should do this with my glasses on. For the years. Hey! Close and personal. Take that off first. Polyester doesn't cut as easy as vinyl.